Hey Reddit.
What is the greatest comeback to an insult you've ever heard?
Posting the comments is what true legends do.
Joe Pine interviewing Frank Zappa. Joe, I guess your long hair makes you a woman. FZ, I guess your wooden leg makes you a table.
How does a dude named Pine have a wooden leg? What if it's mahogany or oak?
Not even clever. But one of my favorite Zappa lines, because it's so outlandish, is "May your shiz come to life and kiss you on the face."
During WW1, Switzerland had a tiny standing army. But they were very skilled marksmen. Wilhelm II of Germany asked what 250k Swiss troops would do if he decided to invade with 500k German troops. The Swiss said, "Shoot twice and go home."
And that, good sir, is how getting Swiss cheesed got the definition we know today.
Switzerland is actually neutral now in part because they were such good fighters. Many European countries hired Swiss mercenaries to fight for them. At least, that's what I heard in a YouTube video.
18th century British radical politician John Wilkes was told in Parliament by a political opponent, "Sir, I do not know whether you will die on the gallows or of the pox." Wilkes shot back with, "That depends, my lord, on whether I embrace your lordship's principles or your mistress."
He's basically calling dude a scumbag and saying his girl is a dirty hoe.
The lords observed with snide delight. He glanced, ashamed, from left to right. He stood to make his own reply. Quote, "I know you are, but what am I?"
My grandparents used to bicker. My grandmother generally came out on top, as she was fierier. One time though, she was asking him to do a bunch of stuff. And he muttered, "If you'd lose some weight, you could do it yourself." She fixed her gaze on him and glowered, "I'm thinking of getting rid of about 200 pounds of useless fat immediately." He replied, "You're going to cut off your foot?"
Man, nobody bickers like old married couples bicker. They've had decades to perfect their craft.
Damn.
Someone yelled out in a Walmart, "I'm not ashamed of who I am." Another voice echoed back, "That's your parents' job."
Back in middle school I was at Walmart with a friend of mine looking for pants. Being a tomboy, I liked to wear baggy boys' pants. Nor did I wear makeup. Another kid came up to me and snarkily asked, "PFFT. What are you, a boy or a girl?" And without missing a beat I responded, "Why? Do you think I'm hot?" He just got flustered and walked away mumbling obscenities. This was the 90s, so that gender question actually was insulting to my 14-year-old brain. Not the greatest. But I still hold pride for my quick wit back then. Too bad that's all gone now.
Saw a clip of a stand-up comedian the other day. And he says something along the lines of, "The first time I had sex it was terrible. The first time I had sex," and a woman chimes in with, "You mean yesterday?" Crowd laughs for a while. And while the comedian is waiting for them to calm down you can see the gears turn in his head. Once it gets down to basically a few chuckles, he just says, "Glad you remember," and the crowd just lost their shiz. It was amazing.
Okay, now we need the source of this clip.
I used to work with this like 70-year-old woman. She was our supervisor. And one day one of the ladies who worked with us told this old lady to kiss my ass, and the old lady replied, "Where do I start? You're so fat your crack goes all the way up your back."
Gran, how many times do we have to tell you? We are not a crematorium.
Quiet guy in my art class got called queer bait. He replied with, "If I'm the bait then you're the catch of the day."
My 10-year-old cousin was pushed aside by an older student at school who also felt the need to call him a gay child. My cousin told him not to get his hopes up. ...
So turns out you can catch the gay.
I asked my mother why she always wears makeup despite being in her 40s. She told me she wears makeup so she doesn't look like me.
Savage.
You deserve that.
A guy makes fun of his bald friend by rubbing his head and saying, "Wow, your head is as smooth as my wife's bottom." The friend also rubs his head and says, "Wow, you're right.
That had to hurt."
Winston Churchill. Of course. Lady Nancy Astor, Winston. "If you were my husband, I'd poison your tea." Churchill, Nancy. "If I were your husband, I'd drink it."
Winston, you are drunk. Disgustingly drunk. Yes. Madam, but you're fat, and when morning comes, I shall be sober.
One of my coworkers was cold calling customers, trying to get appointments to drum up business. One of them told him to go frick his hand, and he responded with, "I've got that penciled in for 3. I should be done by 4 if you'd like to come in for an appointment then." The guy laughed his ass off and ended up coming in for the appointment.
You sure do talk a lot for never saying anything. Quote.
In Mexico, we use the word cantinflea for that. It comes from a comedian with a long career from the 30s to the 80s named Cantinflas, and that was his shtick, talking too much but never saying anything.
Not heard, but read. Easily the Spartans reply to Philip II of Macedon. As Philip II of Macedon was conquering Greek city-states left and right, Sparta was left alone. Philip had achieved a crushing victory, and Sparta was relatively weak and without walls. Philip sent a message to the Spartans saying, "If I invade Laconia you will be destroyed, never to rise again." The Spartans replied with one word: if.
This is actually where the word laconic came from.